Hello everyone and welcome to the AMA session with ZILHive. Sorry for the little delay, we had to fix some issues, but now everything is running smooth. And I wanted to apologize for Thiago, he could not join us, unfortunately he caught the COVID, but he said like he don't wanted to spread it to every viewer, so that's why he is not available right now. So I will let Bradley introduce himself and then we will follow with Mervin.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everyone, for joining as well today. I recently joined Zilliqa in March this year as Head of Investor Relations. So I look after all fundraising activities at Zilliqa, as well as helping our portfolio companies with investor introductions and their own fundraising efforts. In previous roles, I worked in investor relations and business development at a hedge fund, and then moved into the startup world, including at Techstars at their accelerator in London. So great to be here and looking forward to explaining to you about ZILHive and answering some of your questions today.
Perfect, always a pleasure to talk with you. And I will let now Mervin introduce himself.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Mervin. It's great to be here, and it's nice to meet all of you if you are watching this right now. So I've been at Zilliqa for about 2 years now, and basically what I do at Zilliqa is I act as the program manager for this thing called ZILHive. So how I usually like to describe it is that ZILHive is one of Zilliqa's most prominent ecosystem development arms. And so as you know, Zilliqa is a layer one protocol, and the goal here is to kind of onboard as many developers, as many projects as you can to build on our blockchain and use our protocol for their ideas and for their unicorns ideas. Right. So basically, just to give a quick introduction about what ZILHive is. So ZILHive is basically an umbrella of programs that we have. So for example, we have the education arm. So that is where we conduct courses for both developers and industry professionals. And we also have one that is for students as well. So basically, in these courses, we teach people more about blockchain, about Web3, and about Zilliqa. And for developers, we also do training for them to kind of get acquainted with our smart contract language Zilla. So basically, the idea is to kind of like let them understand this change in the wider revolution, which is Web3, and how it might kind of affect areas that they might work in, for example, in finance, in advertising, in healthcare. And we also have the grants program. So that is where we give a small amount of starting capital to allow people to kind of kickstart their ideas with us. And of course, we also have this incubator program, which is what today's session is all about. So I'll be happy to kind of go more in depth into the incubator later on. And we have the accelerator program as well. So that is for established startups. So that is where we'll kind of like help them grow from 1 to 100, right? So for example, the grants program, the incubator program, we'll teach them how to get started from 0 to 1. So over here through the accelerator program, we will help them with the business development, the technical advisory, and amongst other things like the tokenomics, community building, legal, UI, UX, branding, and all that. Yeah, so that's kind of a very brief overview of what we do at ZILHive, and we look forward to kind of answering your questions here.
Thanks for this presentation. It's always great to talk with you guys. I really enjoy it. So my first question for you, actually, Mervin, will be, so that's true, Zilliqa ecosystem is growing huge right now. And ZILHives try to provide opportunities for projects to receive some support, some grow on the ecosystem, and mostly to grow on the platform. So could you tell us more about the upcoming ZILHive Incubator, as you mentioned?
Right. So this year's incubator is the second time we are running it. Right. The first time that we did it was last year, and we saw a good amount of success. So basically, the incubator is catered for individuals. So whether you are a developer or you are an industry professional. And the idea here is that we want to bring in these people who are interested in building on Web3 and building with us. So it's basically like a playground for you to kind of come together, connect with like-minded individuals, and get to know each other, and then try to come together to kind of like build an idea that we can help you scale. So basically, this year's program will last from 14 July to 4th November. And so it's like a 14-week program, and it's part-time. So you will be expected to come in, twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. And the sessions will last about 3 hours, and there's basically a lot of activities that we have planned for you. So overall, the incubator is split into 3 different phases, right? So the first phase, what we call phase 0, will be the training phase, right? Because for this incubator, we welcome everybody, no matter you are Web3 native or you are just getting your feet wet into crypto, or if you just know the bare minimum about in this space, we welcome you. So we have a short training period of about 3 weeks, just to kind of get you acquainted with Zilliqa, with blockchain. And then for the developers, we have a short crash course for you to kind of learn the basics of programming with Zilla. Then after that training phase is over, we will move on to phase 1, which is what we call the initiation phase. So that is where we'll start off with a lot of networking sessions, right? So the class size that we are looking at will be about 45 people that will participate in this incubator program, right? So that is quite I mean, it's not small and it's not big, but it's still quite a sizable amount of people. So that is where you'll have a couple of networking sessions for you guys to kind of get acquainted with each other, and because ultimately you will be forming teams to launch a project, right? So effectively you'll be co-founders. So we want to make sure that you understand, you get to know as many people as you can on a deep enough level to understand what they can bring to your idea. And after that, we also have number of mentors that we have partnered with for the incubator program. So these mentors, they will be assigned to different teams, and depending on what you want to do or what your interest in Web3 is. So we have mentors from the previous ZILHive alumni, those that have went through our previous programs. They are coming back to kind of give back to the program and trying to help new people experience what they have went through before. And also we have, of course, we have experienced professionals both from the Web3 space and also the Web2 space that will come and provide insights on how you can best scale and grow your project. So once all of this stuff, we have all these activities and events for you guys. We also have some sessions called ideathons. So these are basically hardcore brainstorming sessions, just sharing of ideas, trying to get everybody to throw out the best ideas they can have and see what fits and what is the one that will kind of add the most value to our ecosystem, and of course to Zilliqa. And of course the mentors will come in to kind of guide you through this process to validate your idea. And it's not just the mentors, right? So you also have access to the whole ZILHive team and the entire Zilliqa expertise behind us. And then after that, once you have your idea, we'll get to you'll form your teams, and then we'll start developing the prototypes. So there'll be a mini showcase in the middle of the program at the end of phase 1 to just kind of show the ZILHive team, what your idea is and what you are trying to build over here. Now, at this point in time, we open applications to the grants program, the ZILHive grants program for you guys. So let's say, if we like your idea and we think it's good, we will be able to kind of offer you a grant right there in the middle of the program. So usually, as you can see, if you go to the ZILHive website, we do state that the usual cap for grants is about 15,000 US dollars. But because if you are in the program, we'll give you higher priority and possibly a higher maximum cap for the grants. And then once that phase 1 has concluded, the final phase, which is the second half of the program, will be the incubation phase. So this phase, lasts about 6 to 7 weeks, and it's it's quite intensive, right? You'll just be kind of like getting the prototype, working on it and trying to develop it into like minimally an MVP or proof of concept. So that at the end of the day, we will have a demo day where you can showcase your idea to the larger audience, our communities and our mentor networks, and the different partners that Zilliqa has. And of course, throughout the whole incubation process, there'll be many different masterclasses, workshops, clinics that will kind of, where people will come in to kind of share more about what you might need for your startup, for example, branding or tokenomics or governance and so on.
Amazing introduction. Thanks very much. You presented everything what I wanted, so that's perfect. I'm really happy to have you. my question will be, how does the ZILHive Incubator fit into the border of ZILHive pictures in general?
Okay. I would say that the ZILHive Incubator gives an alternative channel for people that who wish to kind of like get started with their ideas on building with us. So, for example, for the grants program, the accelerator program, those you kind of already need to have a certain understanding of how Web3, what are the different dApps out there to kind of be onboarded into those programs. But for the incubator program, we are very welcoming of for everybody, regardless of your expertise or experience. So that is where we also try to kind of that is also the place where we try to match people that they are like-minded and all that. So it's kind of like a playground, like I mentioned. So that is where you will kind of get the most ideas that we are generating from the ground up, rather than, for example, the grants program or the accelerator program. You will already have an idea in mind, so you are just coming in to kind of like grow that idea. But over here, we offer a different avenue for you to kind of like get your brain juices moving and try to think of what else could you contribute to the wider ecosystem. So I would say it's a different purpose that this incubator serves as opposed to the other ZILHive programs that we have.
Okay, really interesting. I really like it. Some people already in the audience are familiar with the last year incubator, and I saw some comment about it. Is there anything that's being done differently this year, like from the previous year? What's
Right.
basically the participant can expect from the new program?
Right. I think the biggest difference would be that for this year we do have teams that you can follow when you want to think of an idea that you want to build on us. So last year we were pretty agnostic, so we were pretty open to many different kinds of projects that doesn't necessarily have to fall into the emerging trends in the wider Web3 space, for example, DeFi, NFTs, and all that. So 2022 going to this year, we have a lot of new exciting things that are happening at Zilliqa. And on the larger strategic level, as you may have watched our Zilliqa 2022 vision video, we have highlighted some of the areas that we are focusing on. So for example, DeFi, cross-chain interoperability, and then also Metaverse, gaming, and NFTs. Right. So these three we kind of bundle them together because most of the concepts there, they kind of are pretty much linked together. So for this year's incubator, we will be focusing very heavily on these three tracks. And of course, this kind of brings more value to the ecosystem as well, as we are more strategically aligned with whatever's going on at Zilliqa on the larger picture.
Love it.
Yeah.
Maybe Bradley, you wanted to talk a bit more about it?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Mervin. So I think the way that the ZILHive initiatives have been structured up until now is that we've always considered great projects on a case-by-case basis. Zilliqa is now building a brand around certain verticals, as we like to call them. And so I think now going forward, we're a little bit more focused on certain areas or projects that fall under certain categories. Like Mervin said, NFTs, Metaverse, gaming. It's really where we're building our brand. And so whilst we're very agnostic about vertical, I think it's just allowing us to have a bit more focus because we then can offer portfolios, services and support that then are aligned with some of those verticals, which is quite interesting. And what we're seeing then is we're able to help projects at different maturities, so at different stages of their journey, from the incubator through to accelerator, grant funding opportunities, and then into ventures as well. So hopefully there's support and funding available at each of those stages for founders and their teams.
Absolutely. Thank you for answering this and specify it more in details. That's true, actually. We had several projects from last year's, as I noticed a question from the chat, move, let's say, on to join us from an accelerator. Like there was a Alfie, there was Green Beans, there was Access, and I would love to know a bit more about it in more benefit way. Like what was their benefit to join this incubator? Did it help them individually, help them as a team to create to expand the project?
Okay. Yeah, so I think it's quite interesting that you brought up, these startups, for example, Green Beans and Access. So if you can kind of look at the bigger picture, you realize that ZILHive is kind of structured as an end-to-end process. So for example, if you are somebody that, you just want to learn more about Web3, more about crypto, you may want to join some of our education courses. Then once you have an idea, you may apply for a grants program after that. And then, you can also apply straight away for the incubator. So once, through the incubator program, you have grown your idea to a certain scale, like a minimum viable product or proof of concept, then you may be onboarded to our accelerator program. And if you continue to do really well there, then you may be applying for our venture for one of our venture investments. So basically, a lot of different people can kind of enter the ZILHive funnel from different parts. But we want to try our best to kind of bring people from the beginning to the end. So one very clear example of this was our startup called Access. So one of our participating startups. So if I'm not wrong, I think I remember that they came from the very beginning, like last year, when we conducted one of our education programs. So they joined that program, they learned how to code with Scala and all that. Then, they kind of went on to the incubator. So that is where they really started to flesh out their idea. So for those that, you may not know, Access is trying to do NFTs for tickets, right? So the idea is to kind of combat ticket scalping, ticket fraud, and also allowing, event organizers a secondary market, for these tickets. And then these tickets can also kind of serve as collectibles. So they were equipped with the technical skills, with Scala and know how to use our blockchain environment from the beginning. And then when they went on to the incubator program, that is where they really started to flesh out the product. And the ZILHive team, we help them in quite a number of things, like trying to design the business, the branding and all that. Then after that, they eventually went on to the accelerator program. And I think recently they still gain quite a bit of traction. They did like a pre-sales round. So I think they raised. Sorry, that's not. They I think the traction there. Sorry, I got mixed up with another startup that I was going to talk about later. So right now they are in the process of working with a very strong partner. I don't think I can disclose the name for NDA reasons and all that. But yeah, I would say they are doing very good, and they are one of our best examples of a startup that went through from the beginning to the end. Now, the other startup that I wanted to talk about, and I got a bit mixed up there, was Green Beans, which you mentioned. So Green Beans, they are doing a play-to-earn game, and it's like a turn-based tactics game. And if you look at their mock-ups, their design, if you go to their website and the Twitter, you can see that it's quite cute and it's very fun, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, and the team, they came from the founders of this the Green Beans project, they met in the incubator program. And that is a clear testament, on how we do our talent matching, and it has worked well. And they have gained a significant amount of traction as well. They did the pre-sales, and I think they raised about 2 million in ZIL. Yeah.
Congrats to them. Sorry,
I was
Bradley.
just saying, yeah, sure. I was just going to add on Green Beans. It's a prime example of a company almost growing with ZILHive and through ZILHive. So Green Beans literally is the last SAF, which is a commercial agreement whereby we'll be participating in their token sale. So it's coming up. And for us, that they've been like, we've been familiar with them. We've seen the journey of the team coming together, the product being launched. We can have input on the tokenomics. We like it because of sustainability. We're a super environmentally sustainable blockchain, so we like that angle. We like the GameFi, like Mervin said. It's actually quite a cool game to play, and there's some really interesting play to earn type dynamics. So whilst we're talking about some of those verticals earlier, you can see in some of these projects it is so interconnected that it ticks all of the boxes that we're looking for. So it's not just gaming, it's not just DeFi or interoperability or just the metaverse. Some of the projects that we're working with are just doing a really great job of delivering value across those different verticals and making a really cool, interesting user experience, which is super interesting to work with.
Really interesting. Thank you for all this answer and for all these details. But let's say, aside from providing mentorship and workshop, will participants be able to receive funding from the incubator program?
Yeah, so like I think I went through earlier. So in the middle of the incubator program, there will be a chance for you to apply for the grants. So I mean, you can apply for the grants now. The grants, they they are open throughout the year. There isn't really a deadline and all that. But we will give higher priority to projects that are within the incubator because we know your idea, we know you, and we understand what you are looking for. So when it comes to giving out grants to different projects out there, we of course we do want to give grants that are the most promising and the ones that would have the highest success of highest probability of success. And if they do well, within the incubator, then they will also have a higher chance to be funneled over to, let's say, the accelerator or even our ventures arm, and over there they can apply for more grants if they need to.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, how does let's say, how an interested individual or a team apply for the 2022 ZILHive Incubator? I saw this question in the chat, so wanted to give a bit power for this person.
Yeah, so applications are open now and they will be open until the 5th of June, right? So you can just go to our ZILHive website, zilhive.org, and go to the incubator page and click apply now. And you can also find the link through our various social media announcements and all that. So yeah, so go ahead and apply for our incubator and join us in building the future of Web3.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. And I'm sure the person in the chat is super happy for this answer. Some people might be hesitant to join the program due to the lack of technical knowledge. They maybe don't know how to code with Scylla. So maybe it can be a kind of barrier. How do you think this technical barrier and onboarding more people on Zilliqa platform?
Yeah. So I understand that, getting into Web3 may seem daunting for some people, especially if you think that, it's too technical for me, it's too complex, and I don't really have the proper background to understand these things. That's not to worry. Like I mentioned, the incubator is for people of all kinds of backgrounds and experiences, right? So we do have that phase 0 for a reason because we understand that not everybody that joins the program may be up to date with whatever's going on in the Web3 space and how to build projects with us. So we do have that training phase to help you to equip you with the necessary skills and knowledge. But of course, you can also kind of, especially for developers, if you are interested more in how to code with Scylla and how to navigate our environment, there are many resources that we have listed on our website. And you can also join our communities on Telegram and also on Discord. You can ask technical questions there and the team will be more than happy to assist you with them.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I see that someone dropped the link to join us for the incubator. So you are all welcome to come.
Yeah.
I have a small question. So are there any other ZILHive initiatives that our community can look forward to post-incubator?
So there are certain events and community programs that we have. For example, once you are part of the ZILHive programs, and when you graduate, we don't just forget about you, right? So you join into this wider community that is our ZILHive alumni. So over there, we will occasionally run different sessions like round robin discussions, panel discussions, networking sessions, all sorts of things. So if you are, graduating from the program, you can look forward to that. And of course, you can also apply for our next programs. For example, the accelerator program, the grants program, or even seek funding from our ventures arm.
Exactly. And as Mervin says there, so we've got, like, ideally under ZILHive, it's meant to be, we can offer help and support for any people at any start of their experience or journey with Web3. So it could be an existing student, recent graduate, career changer, someone with Web3 experience, someone with startup experience looking to transition across. So between the educational training sessions and some of the boot camps that we offer, the idea is to try and help you acclimatize to Web3. And it's not just about Zilliqa, it's about Web3 in its most broadest sense. So then that often develops into, well, I've got an idea, like I'd like to trial or to prove the concept, build an MVP, or I'm looking for a co-founder or co-founders. We can help with that. And then often what you'll see is individuals graduating from the educational side of it to incubators through to accelerator. And there's a really interesting stat around how many of the incubator companies actually go on to join the accelerator just because they become familiar with Zilliqa. They like what we're doing, we like them. It's a very mutually beneficial relationship, and it's just great to see that in the ecosystem. Mervin just mentioned the last point being ventures. So how the ventures part is set up is that we've got full flexibility to make equity or token investments at that stage. So often what we'll see is maybe we participate in a pre-seed or a seed round, or maybe a pre-public token sale, and then we have the ability to often follow on and help those companies as they're going on, make more investor introductions for them, and as they're growing, hopefully then they can sort of work through ZILHive with us and sort of go on to to great things.
Okay, really interesting. Thanks a lot. Sorry. So what's the application process like? I come, I have my ID, I just deposit it, or how is it working exactly? I'm sorry, am I mute?
No, sorry, I think that's the question, Kevin.
So I said, what's the application process look like exactly from the inside? Like how things work?
Sure.
For the ventures.
Do you want to answer maybe at the grant and incubator level, Mervin? Then maybe I can talk about ventures.
Okay, maybe for the grants program, right? So if you want to apply for grants, you can go to our website, ZILHive.org, and then there's a form for you to kind of fill up. So what we would really need from you is a proposal, right? So what is it that you want to do? How are you different from whatever's out there? The market sizing, probably of your idea. Why now, right? And also, who are you? What kind of qualifications or track records that you have? Because we do want to understand who you are as a person, and how we can work together to kind of like ensure a higher success rate. And once you submit your application, we'll take about 2 weeks to kind of like do some basic due diligence, basic research as to what your idea can do for our ecosystem. So basically, the main goal is it has to kind of add value to our ecosystem for us to make sense, to give out the grants. And once we have that, then we'll do a call with you to better understand. So that is the time where you can run through your idea with us, you can do a short presentation and all that. Then I think that's pretty much, then we'll notify you of the outcome. And after that, then if you are onboarded into the grants program, then we will work with you closely to ensure that you are making good progress.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for these answers. One of my last question would be: ZILHive is planning a hackathon? Is ZILHive planning a hackathon mostly?
Yeah, so we are participating in the Gitcoins Grants Round 14, right? So we are one of the sponsors there. And if I'm not wrong, the timeline for that is 8 June to 23rd June, right? So if you want to, try that out, go ahead and, explore that. And basically the hackathon is, again, you'll fall along the lines of the teams that we have, for example, DeFi and Interoperability, Metaverse NFT gaming and all that. So it's quite similar to whatever we are focusing on for the entire ZILHive as a whole. Yeah, so go ahead and try it out, and we look forward to your participation.
Amazing, love it. I have just a question. It's a bit for myself, but why did Zilliqa pick DeFi, Metaverse, NFT gaming, interoperability as its core focus for the year? Like, what's the reason behind it? I'm curious.
Good question, Kevin. So I think up until now, as I mentioned earlier, like we're super flexible within ZILHive up until now. So we've been fairly generalist. We've been, I guess, agnostic about stage with a bias towards pre-seed, financial instrument, maybe with a bias towards tokens over equity. And then in terms of vertical, like super broad, and we invest globally. I think more recently, we've had a clearly defined strategy by the business about like, what we see as massive market opportunities within some of those areas. So if you take Metaverse, for example, with the first L1 to launch a Metaverse as a service, as a platform. The Metaverse, I mean, it's just seeing a tremendous amount of interest. It's predicted to grow at something like 12-13% per year for the next 4 or 5 years. A couple of the big banks have said it's like an 8 trillion opportunity. And so we see, I guess, value in being one of the first movers as an L1 into that space. And then if we can align some of our investments with the Metaverse and with gaming, for example, then we just think there's going to be a great opportunity for projects to really thrive and grow, as well as us under ZILHive to build a really fantastic business. We're looking for that interoperability as well between chains as well as different verticals. So, for example, in gaming, we're sort of doubling down. We're doing some great hires in that area, creating and publishing a game ourselves this year. And when you look at how big the market is, when you look at in-game purchases, for example, only about 2% of participants and gamers actually buy in-game items. And so the introduction of NFTs in not just the Metaverse side, but also gaming, is just really, really interesting. And if you can underpin that with a sophisticated, well thought out, intelligent DeFi type product, then we just see it all coming together, and that's almost the sweet spot that we're trying to capitalize on, and that we think we can add a lot of value and expertise and knowledge to projects. So that's really the alignment. I wouldn't say it's a massive shift, but I guess it's just a sharpening of focus about what we think we're good at and how we can help projects.
Love it. Thanks a lot, actually, for this answer. I was really wondering. My question will be, how will Zilliqa ecosystem be supporting these projects that are centered around this subject area, let's say, in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So from our point of view, I think we're trying to offer as much support to projects beyond capital. So some people talk about investors and smart money. I think that's increasingly going to be important. It's a very competitive landscape in terms of L1s. If you're looking at the crypto native funds or traditional Web 2 VCs, there's some great projects that are in demand that are probably oversubscribed, and there's a lot of investors trying to come in. So people aren't just looking for cash anymore. So they're looking for, as Mervin said earlier, help with products, help with sales introductions, fundraising. UX hiring's massive, especially on the tech side. Like, can we help opening some doors there, making introductions? So it's really almost anything because it can be very overwhelming. I think that the founder journey to do it on your own. So I think investors really need to play quite a supportive, encouraging, long game with the project in order to succeed, because once you're on the cap table, like that's unlikely to change anytime soon. And so it's in your interest to really make sure that the business is thriving and they've got someone to turn to if they're looking for help with certain things. So we're just trying to see it as beyond just the cash and the capital and the investment. Then what else can we help with, and all of those items and more we think we can, and hopefully some of the founders are sort of reaping the benefits of that.
Okay, thanks a lot. Quick question for both of you. So how many grant awards do you have in each round, approximately?
So for each round, we usually give about 10 to 12 different grants to different projects, right? So it's really kind of like it depends basis. Sometimes the grants applications we have a lot of them, and we'll do more grants. But then sometimes, for example, like in a bear market and all that, we get lesser grants. So it kind of really depends. But I would say, on average, it's about 10 to 12 different grants. And if you're interested to find out more about our previous grantees, they are all listed on our blog, our Zilliqa blog. And we do announcements every time we finish a grant. So you can go and check them out and see what they have did and where are they now.
Okay, perfect. Probably one of my last question, and after that we can pick the question from the audience. What will the team be looking for in ZILHive Incubator application? Applicant, sorry, not application, applicant.
Sure, I can maybe take this one, Mervin. So I would say, most accelerator programs, having worked at Techstars, I've seen my fair share of applicants. I would say, there's going to be three things. Well, Techstars used to have a motto saying it was product, market, and then team. So that was the five things. So they had an overemphasis on people, which I think translates well at Zilliqa. So like you just need to be very aware about like where you are, what's going on in the market, and how you're going to deliver. I would say there's two other factors that I'm learning are super important within Web3, which are well thought out tokenomics, which are really important. I mean, Kevin, you've done your fair share of tokenomic analysis since I've joined the business. Because if you get that wrong, it can just really burn a project early on, and it's a real shame that you can just see, almost from day one, just the tokenomics aren't quite right. Maybe the vesting schedules aren't aligned to stakeholder interests, or there's not enough of the community, or the founders can release some of their tokens a bit too early. All of these sorts of things. It's almost an art more than a science, tokenomics, and we're here to help. It's like almost every project comes at it in a slightly different way. And the other factor within Web3 is community. So like a lot of, and almost all of the time when you're talking to other investors, like what are they looking for? They're looking for, great community dynamics. So what's going on Telegram, what's going on Twitter, Discord, these are all really, really important channels, because it's just how you can actually, almost unlike Web2, you can get buy-in early on from customers and users. You can get them using the product, advocating for your project and your team. It's almost, they become an extension of your in-house team. So I would, like when it comes down to like, what are we looking for? Not to have, and to be crystal clear, it's not to say that all of that is clearly defined, exactly what's going to happen. This is the startup world, plus it's in Web3. Things change very, very quickly. But we're just looking for founders who, have put a bit of thought into that, have got some sort of business rationale behind it, and sort of had the passion and determination to execute on those plans. Some sort of startup experience seems to be helping that we're seeing, but I mean, we're seeing applicants that have been successful from all sorts of backgrounds at different ages, from different regions, and I think that's the beauty of Web3. So, just well prepared, carefully managed, ambitious teams is who we'd like to talk to.
Amazing. Thanks really, Bradley and Mervin, for answering this question. I think we can move to some question I spotted during the AMA. Like,
Great.
One of the audience asked, hello, what is the timeline of grant application to be review, accept, or reject?
Right. So it's about 2 weeks. Yeah, but of course, it doesn't mean after 2 weeks then I will contact you. I'll contact you as soon as I can. Yeah, but I mean, if sometimes if I forgot to reply you, please feel free to just drop me another email. My email is mervin@zilliqa.com. Right. You can also reach out to me and ask more information about how to kind of structure your grants proposal. What are the things that we are looking for, and to kind of like maximize your chances of us giving you the grant.
And just to add to that, what Mervin was saying is, I think one of the consistent things around funding opportunities at Zilliqa is that from the grant award, there are certain milestones that we would like to see, achieved, and that almost encourages the team to stay on track, to have the roadmap, to execute on different milestones, and that translates well into ventures. So what we'll often see is there's normally, we retain the I guess that the right to follow on a lot of the time for our investment. So if we see you doing really well at pre-seed, we like the project, then there's some commercial take up and adoption, and the user growth is there, and all the other metrics that we're looking for, then we'll participate at the seed round, or we'll follow on with some tokens. So we like to see it's not just a one-off investment, it's more of a journey with us into as you're going, and if things are going well and you need more cash, and we think we think we're aligned and your progress is there to see, then we're absolutely happy to continue backing you.
Thanks a lot for answering. I saw another question from Mederic. You mentioned 45 people per class. How many ideas will be selected for prototypes?
Right. So out of these 45 people, we are aiming to have different teams of about 5 people. So that is what we'll be trying to target. So that will mean about 9 teams, and that will also translate to 9 different prototypes that we will be looking at.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for answering. I think on my side, I'm really good. What is the average amount of investment awarded? Is there a cap? That could be a good question actually for you.
What is the average amount of investment audits that are capped? Is a good question. So the average amount, what we're seeing is, I guess, equity or tokens, like fairly indifferent. About the sort of 100 to 250, I would say, is the average ticket size. There isn't a cap per se, but I would say, up to about, anything over maybe sort of 2 or 3 million, it goes on. It's probably beyond us. It's not an early stage investment anymore. So what we'd like to see normally is that there's a first ticket at a decent size, and then we, like I mentioned a second ago, we can follow on in subsequent rounds. So we would lead early stage rounds. We typically do not in follow on subsequent rounds. Like if it's equity, maybe C+, Series A, Series B, that we might participate, but we wouldn't be leading. However, it's a pretty open and collaborative investment community, I would say, in Web3. So if you get to that stage, there's certainly introductions and doors that we can open to other investors who are more growth stage mindset type investors who we can introduce you to, who possibly can lead and that they write bigger ticket sizes. So like we see our role a little bit earlier on than that, that can help throughout.
Perfect. So thank you, everyone. I think we can end the session, or maybe other people have more questions.
Sure, what do you think?
Sure. So I think we can end the session. It was 45 minutes. It's great. It was a pleasure to talk with you and to discuss more about ZILHive. I learned a lot, actually. And see you soon.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Mervin.
Yeah, please join us for our incubator program. Applications are open now until 5th June. So go to zilhive.org, incubator page, apply. And I mean, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can ask us in our Telegram groups, Discord. You can also drop me an email, mervin@zilliqa.com, if you have any other further queries about the program. And yeah, thanks so much for spending, the last 45 minutes with us. And hope to see you on the other side.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks,
Wish you a
everyone.
great day.